I once worked with a client who said yes to everything: extra projects at work, friends asking for favors, family calling with last minute needs. She told me, Heather, I love helping people, but I'm exhausted. And honestly, I'm starting to feel invisible. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're doing so much for everyone else that you've lost touch with what you need? That's what happens when our boundaries get blurry. Today, we're going to talk about what boundaries really are and why they matter and how you can build healthy ones that help you thrive. Hello, I'm Heather Jennings. I am a certified professional mental health life coach and live well health coach. I help women grow strong in faith, freedom, and wholeness by learning to manage emotions, build resilience, and live from a place of peace rather than pressure. If you have ever struggled with people pleasing, burnout, or guilt when you try to set limits, this conversation is for you. So let's get into what boundaries really are. Boundaries are like invisible property lines for our emotional, spiritual, and mental health. They define where your responsibility ends and another person's begins. They're not about control. They're about protection. Even in the Garden of Eden, God modeled boundaries. Remember in Genesis 2:16-17, he told Adam and Eve, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was a boundary that existed before sin ever entered the world. Why? Because boundaries were never meant to restrict us. They were meant to protect us. God set that line to keep his children safe from something their hearts were never created to carry, the burden of knowing and experiencing evil. When people ask, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? This story helps us to understand. God didn't create pain or fear. Those entered when the first boundary was crossed. From the beginning, his heart was to protect and keep his creation whole. And that's still his heart today. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. When we build healthy boundaries, we are agreeing with God's original design to keep our inner life protected and our peace intact. Boundaries guard our peace the way fences guard a garden. They don't stop growth, they protect it. Setting a boundary isn't about saying no to others, it's about saying yes to living free and whole the way God intended. So let's talk about why boundaries matter spiritually and emotionally. Well, when we live without boundaries, we lose the space that our soul needs to breathe. Boundaries give structure to peace. They create order where confusion once lived. Think about the Israelites entering the promised land. Before they could even settle and thrive, God gave each tribe clear boundary lines. You can check that out in Numbers chapter 34. Every tribe had its own land, its own assignments, its own responsibilities. Those boundary lines weren't restrictive. They were intentional. They created clarity, stability, and identity. Healthy emotional boundaries do the same for us. They help us recognize what's ours to carry and what belongs to someone else. They keep us from taking on stress, guilt, or pressure that was never meant to be ours. But when we don't have boundaries, our lives, they just start to blend. We begin crossing into other people's territory, trying to fix, rescue, or carry what's not ours to hold. In counseling, we often call this a savior complex. It's the deep pull to help everyone, to be the one who makes it better for them, to say yes to say yes even when you're drained. And underneath that, there's often something tender, however, just a belief that our worth or belonging comes from being needed. That if we stop helping, we might lose love, purpose, or approval. But here's the truth. God never asked us to be anybody's savior. He already fills that role. Our calling is to love others, not lose ourselves trying to rescue them. When we live without boundaries, we're living outside the peace God designed for us. When we create them, we're stepping into the same kind of order God gave his people: clear identity, calm focus, and room to grow. Even Jesus modeled this rhythm. In Luke 5:16, it says, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and he prayed. He stayed connected to the Father's direction, not people's pressure, and he continued to fulfill his purpose on earth in the meantime. Boundaries help us do the same. Live with compassion without carrying everyone else's load. They remind us that saying no isn't unkind. It's healthy. It protects the peace and purpose God placed within us. So how do we build healthy boundaries, you might be asking? Well, let's check that out. Number one, clarify your values. How do you clarify your values? Well, when you ask what truly matters to me right now. When you know your core values, faith, family, peace, whatever they may be, your boundaries naturally align with them. Number two, notice your signals. Fatigue. Are you tired or anxious? Those are warning lights that a boundary is being crossed. Those feelings are not failures, they're information guiding you towards balance. Number three, use the 3 Ps. Pause, pray, protect. Before saying yes, just pause. Take a deep breath even. Then pray, Lord, is this something that you want me to step into? Is this aligning with what your will is for me today? And protect your peace by choosing what fits your emotional and spiritual capacity. Number four, communicate with clarity and kindness. Matthew 5:37 says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. You don't need lengthy explanations, just clear statements. I care about you, but I'm not available for that right now. Or that's not something I can take on this week. Or let me think about that and before I answer and I'll get back with you. That's showing compassion with confidence. So what are the purpose of boundaries? Let's talk about that. Galatians 6:2-5 says, carry each other's burdens, but each one must carry their own load. We can support others without taking over what is theirs to manage. Boundaries keep compassion from turning into control. They keep empathy from becoming exhaustion, and they give God space to work in people's lives without us trying to play hero. Sometimes love looks like space. Sometimes love sounds like not today. Sometimes love means stepping back so healing can begin. Living in peace. Romans 12:18 says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. That doesn't mean everyone will understand your limits, but peace comes from living aligned with truth, not approval. Boundaries say, I can love you and still take care of myself. They allow us to give from fullness, not depletion. So today, ask yourself, where might God be inviting you to be strengthening a boundary? What's one small step that you can take this week to protect your peace? If this encouraged you, would you share it with a friend who's learning to set healthy boundaries too? Also, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. It helps to grow the channel. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. Remember, you can love people deeply and honor your limits. Boundaries are not rejection, they're protection. And peace is where the healing begins. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.